All right. Hopefully we're live. We're good. Welcome to the Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Carlito Santiago, and today we're going to be looking at Monday Night Raw before Crown Jewel. I'm sorry about yesterday, but now I'm here with a little John Cena hat. Anyway, ahead of Saturday's Crown Jewel in Australia, Parth or Perth? Let me know in the comments. WWE hit the Netflix airwaves with a packed show featuring appearances from CM Punk and the OTC Roman Reigns. Elsewhere on the broadcast, Lynch-Dupri sought to humble the Women's Intercontinental Champion Becky Lynch following a backstage beatdown last week, while Ira Valkyria and Roxanne kind of squared off. So, we kicked off with the OTC. See, a week after gaining a measure of revenge on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker following an assault at Clash in Paris that left him sidelined for about a month, Roman Reigns opened Monday Night Raw with an in-ring promo. Before the OTC could address his return, though, Bronson Reed interrupted, flanked by the Oracle, Paul Heyman. The former wise man put over the beating the Auxilla gave Reigns in Paris. The OTC shook every attempt by the heels to rattle him, including Reed inciting his father's name. It did not hesitate to accept a challenge for an Australian street fight Saturday at Crown Jewel. The babyface laid out Reed with a pair of Superman punches to close out the segment. So we're expecting a huge brawl. So Roman Reigns said this as the heels left, of course. They walked in like a couple of tough guys, but they seemed to be walking out like a couple of bitches. I think that's a bit... Now with Roman kind of on his own, Paul Heyman's, not really working with his promos anymore. Roman feels confident a bit to now expand his vocabulary, as one shall think. Graded a B, and I think this is all right for an opening segment. We're going to get another match added. You're going to see the predictions tomorrow anyway, so there's that. But next, we get to, of course, this actually happened at the Raw that we were on. But anyway, we got Becky Lynch and Lynch-Dupri in a non-title match. As a result of a backstage confrontation that turned physical when Lynch attacked Dupri, the two squared off in the opening match of Monday's show. The man dominated the action early, outclassing the babyface. She controlled the bout through the commercial break before Dupri found a different gear, shifted into it, and fought her way back into the bout. She delivered a fisherman suplex, slipped out of Lynch's grasp, and applied an ankle lock to her, of course, to her former mentor, Chad Gable. Now, Bleacher Report's greatest women's wrestler in WWE history can suck my ass because this bit falls short for a grading that they decided to give this match. I'm not going to take away from the action itself. The action itself was fucking good. But come on, the finish is where we kind of tend to disagree on. Nearly kicked out of a near fall and delivered a suplex, Dupri continued to fight, countering and reversing the man's best stuff, and nearly upsetting her on more than one occasion. Frustration built, and Lynch took the underdog to the floor, slamming her into the steps, hitting her in the ribs with a giant prime bottle at ringside. Arrogance proved costly, though, because Lynch decided to, what is called, boast. And boast she did. Dupri got back in the ring, and the referee, Jessica Carr, not her fault, sort of her fault, but it's also Lynch's. Because if Lynch didn't do anything, hold on. See, if Lynch didn't fucking, take up to the crowd and gloat and boast, then she wouldn't have got herself counted out. But the referee also counted a bit too fast. So the match ended in a count out. You know how I feel about this shit. You didn't have a clean finish, so that's a negative. The referee counted so fast, that was a negative. So this is not going to be an A. This is going to be a B. For the sake of the matter, I'm not taking away from the match. I'm only taking away the negative aspects of it. This is 100% Lynch's fault for pumping up to the crowd, but it plays well into her character. So I give her the benefit of the doubt. The referee shouldn't have counted fast, and there wasn't a clean finish. So you think you deserve a good grade just because you had a stellar match and we're just going to gloss over the fucking finish? No. Not on this show. So Bleacher Report can keep their A. This is a B at best. Backstage, Asuka demanded a match between Kairi Sane and Io Sky, made for Monday, and she got what she wanted. Kairi also got slapped, so she didn't get what she wanted. This was outstanding. If anyone has any questions as to why Lynch is the greatest wrestler of all time, all the evidence was here. No, I think you missed a couple of shit that she did back when she was still a kicking Irish ass kicker. She had a great match with an unproven competitor and had fans biting on every near fall and delivered facial expressions with body language because that's her character. She has to. She's a fucking heel. What else do you expect? But kudos to Dupri. I'm not going to lie. Her in-ring performance has improved. And I loved seeing her in Springfield. So shout out to Maxine Dupri. Keep doing what you're doing, girl. We got onto a match between Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez. A week after coming to the aid of Bayley amid a 2-on-1 beatdown at the hands of the Judgment Day, Valkyria rekindled her actually just had a rematch, honestly, with her former NXT foe, Perez. See, Roxanne Perez targeted the left arm of her opponent, working it over through the commercial break. Even as the babyface managed to fight from underneath, she was unable to fully execute her moveset, thanks to the damage inflicted onto her arm. With a little moral support from Bayley at ringside, Valkyria mounted a comeback, but the distraction that Rodriguez's big boot provided to the role model on the floor brought attention to Perez to recover and deliver the Pop Rocks for the win. Afterwards, an irate Bayley grabbed hold of Valkyria and told her they had unfinished business. Bayley is really getting into that fucking little split personality thing, and I'm loving it. Between her heel and her babyface kind of gimmick. It's so good. Anyway, we're not going to take away from the action. Graded a B. Another stellar match for the women's here. Backstage, Roman Reigns caught up with the Usos and denied Jay his offer to help at Crown Jewel, telling him to stay focused and take exception to Punk talking at the top of the hour instead of him. As the former world champion walked off, Reigns reminded Jimmy that he sees everything and asked why it's a problem for Jay to take advice from him. So now, Punk's promo. See, Punk wasted a little time turning his attention to Seth fucking Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion, vowing to earn his title back by the end of the year. LA Knight interrupted, though. Still not abandoning his pursuit for the world title, he applauded Punk on cultivating love, but claimed he has been more focused on being a husband than winning against Rollins. The megastar told Punk that he has never lost to Rollins. The best in the world responded by reminding him that he has never been world champion either. That's when Jay interrupted. See, heeding his cousin's advice from early in the show, and came face to face with the other prospect number one contenders. He threw down his claim for the world title. Then Jimmy hit the ring, allowing Jay to rock Knight with a kick. After a few more words from Punk denouncing the former world champion's new attitude, I like Jey Uso. I don't like little Roman. The straight edge superstar took Jay down, earning a super kick from Jimmy to close the segment, which of course would lead to a tag team match for our main event. Not gonna lie, this segment was really fucking good, and it added a lot of drama to it. So, thumbs up. This is definitely gonna stick with it. We're gonna stick with this A grading. Backstage, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee attempted to recruit Penta for a 6-man tag team match against the Judgment Day, but were interrupted by a brawl between Bayley, Valkyria, Perez, and Rock. So, I don't know what we're getting at here. Yeah. You think you lost the title because you're not Roman enough? Knight asked. And then Punk, of course, later, this whole thing is gearing up for its next chapter. It's so fucking good. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with this Judgment Day, Bayley, fucking Perez, I don't know. We're probably going to get a tag team match next week at 8 a.m. in the morning. What looked like a repetitive segment aimed to determine the number one contender. Probably a triple threat match. Maybe. Let's move on, shall we? Io Sky took on Kairi Sane. This is some build-up so we can get to our tag team match at the pay-per-view. Sky attacked Asuka before the bell, wiping the Empress of Tomorrow out at ringside and seeking to avenge the weeks of torment she had been put through at the hands of her former Damage Control teammate. She further unleashed her frustration, dominating Sane in the opening moments of the match and into a commercial break. The Pirate Princess recovered, seized control of the match, which she held coming out of the timeout. It was not enough to halt Sky's momentum, though, as the former world champion, or women's world champion, launched herself off the top with a missile dropkick. Io Sky rolled, but interference from Asuka allowed Sane to recover and score the win over her friend. Still reluctant, Sane delivered a vicious back fist, and insane elbow to Sky, to the delight of Asuka, and the Kabuki Warriors built some momentum entering Crown Jewel. Graded a B. Ripley not being here, I mean, kind of feels but she will be on Australia, and I guarantee you, Mommy is coming home. Mommy's coming home. And when Mommy's home, oh, you best hope she's not pissed. We got more fucking Vision and Bloodline drama. See, moments after the latest edition of Cody and Seth's video package, a desperate world champion asked Paul Heyman what happens if he loses to Rhodes at Crown Jewel. Heyman conveniently left himself out of the answer, and the Visionary called him out on it. The Oracle said at some point he would have to ask himself why he chose Rollins instead of Roman Reigns. Speaking of the Tribal Chief, he surveyed a disagreement between Jay and Jimmy, with the former taking exception to his brother interrupting him during the promo segment earlier and accusing him of protecting Punk. Jay stormed off, leaving Roman to warn Jimmy that when his brother won the world title, he became more like the OTC and less like Jimmy. Sometimes the best way to help him is to get out of his way, Reigns advised, his influence clearly affecting Jay. Graded an A, and all of this is some good stuff. Now, what's that old saying? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. For all the talk about a new or changed Roman, it seems like there is plenty of the same manipulative villain in him that we knew during the height of his run at the top of the WWE mountain. So, it doesn't seem that well, as Jimmy is now kind of in that spot where like Jay used to be. So now we got to build up Jimmy to be like Jay, right? And Jay to be like Roman, because Roman's already done with this shit. He's just now being himself. So we're moving characters up the chain a little bit. And Solo is just, well, yeah. We got a 6-man tag team match that really doesn't need any explaining. It's just to hype up fucking AJ, Penta, all that. But what I will say is after the match, a fired up Styles told the world, after winning the match, told the world that he and John Cena do not need a story this Saturday at Crown Jewel. They had an epic rivalry then, and they will have a epic conclusion in Perth. So, I can't wait to see that. I'm all set. John Cena here. I got to get the gloves, but this is a feud that I've loved since 2016, and I'm glad they're bringing it back. So, yeah, there's no really need to explain that. But we got to our main event. It was Punk. It was Knight taking on the Usos. The product of the promo segment from early in the show, Punk and Knight battled the Usos in a star-studded tag team match main event. The twins dominated the action using their years of experience to earn the upper hand and take the fight to Knight. A hot tag to Punk brought him and his partner back in the brink, put them in the driver's seat late on. See, Jay halted the momentum momentarily, delivering a spear to Punk. The best in the world recovered, though, and flattened him with a GTS. Instead of making the cover, Knight tagged himself in and stole the victory from his teammate, further strengthening his claim for the world title next. See, mind you, Knight pinned Jay. So what this also does with him tagging himself in from Punk, this also sets tension between Punk and Knight, which is good because it's storytelling. Grading a B, let's keep it at that. And also let's keep the C+ for that tag team match because I like that Styles was able to mention it without having to fucking do anything more. But how was Raw? Well, as a go-home show, it was underwhelming. We got a nice little angle with the Kabuki Warriors and Io without Rhea Ripley because she's gonna get her home. She's gonna get her home welcoming. The introduction to a new match on the show in the form of Reed and Roman with the Australian Street Fight. Some more. The rest of the card was woefully unhyped, while the great Rollins and Rhodes video package. With that said, there was a ton to like about this broadcast. Of course, Lynch and Lynch-Dupri having a great match, of course. Probably the hottest reaction of the night, rewarding them, with what they did. Dirty Dom continuing to earn the attention of his opponents for the wrong reasons. Heyman's loyalty to Rollins, or lack thereof, was called to the floor. And the Bloodline's latest chapter in being written with every passing week. And the renewed influence of Reigns on Jay. Though the hype for Saturday's show was so-so at best, this was still a successful broadcast, thanks in large part to the other stories preparing to affect the Red brand moving forward. And that's good. That's good. That's how you want a go-home show to be. You want to be able to set up for next week, but you also want to be able to hype up the show that's coming up. Like, you so want to hype up the show that's coming up, but you want to keep focused. You know, it's kind of when you have a balance like this is why it becomes a great show. And 100%, I think this deserves a B plus. But when you have a go home show, you need to be able to balance out. You're going you're going to the pay per view, but you also want to set up for what's going to happen next week, right? Especially coming off of that. And we're going to be in Australia the entire weekend. So this Friday, this Saturday, and then of course we're going to be still in it on Monday. So we're taking an Aussie tour, which is nice. So that's what needs to happen for a go home show. You can't have this repetitive, back and forth type shit going on. You have to have a balance. And then when you come off of a pay-per-view, you need to, of course, start moving forward to the next pay-per-view, but also start setting up your feuds that you had previously. Enough said there. This was a great Raw. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I thought this was good. Best thing to go out and see is this. Probably the main event itself. And Maxine Dupri and Becky Lynch. Their in-ring action is perfect. I will be back tomorrow to give you guys the predictions for Crown Jewel, and I already have them locked in. So I hope you guys are ready for that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Lewis will also see you guys for the Eagles-Philly game. The Eagles and the Giants game. And then I will be back on Friday again, right after SmackDown is over, to tell you what the hell happened. So that way we can continue keeping up with, because the pay-per-view is going to be live at 8 a.m. in the fucking morning. Okay? So, just so you know, 8 a.m. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.